Welcome into the Bonesville Pregame Podcast. Al Myatt, joined by Kevin Monroe. Kevin, of course, great defensive back in his play-in days at East Carolina. He got together with some of his former teammates this past weekend as East Carolina was winning its opening game in the American Athletic Conference at Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, 30-20 over Texas San Antonio. And before we talk about that reunion, Kevin, it was a great win for the Pirates and eliminated some of the frustration, I think, from the past 2 weeks to get that 1-0 start in league play.
Yeah, Al, it was a big deal. Just the fact that the Pirates, had lost such a tough one to App State at home. You go on the road to Liberty and you lose, and so you're on a 2-game losing streak, and it was a good crowd, and so you wanted to be able to show improvement, and you wanted to be able to get a win for your home fans, and that's what the Pirates were set out to do, and then to get behind early in that game was a little bit nerve-wracking, but it was a little bit different to play from behind for once. After the Pirates, as you just said, they got down 16-0 or got up 16-0 versus App State, and got up 17-0 against Liberty, and found a way to lose both those games. So to see them play from behind was kind of a different aspect, and also they rolled a new kicker out there. There's some different stories going around. I guess maybe Conrad tweaked something. And so Perez stepped up and actually scored the first points of the game. And I can remember thinking at that point, all the crowd was yelling, "Go, go, go!" And I think the Pirates had a fourth and short, inside their own 5, and decided to kick the field goal, and then didn't score for a while. Didn't score at all the rest of the first quarter, and so they allowed UTSA to get on a nice little lead. And you just thinking back, if they'd had that 7 points early, that could have changed things. But instead, they had to fight, and they were able to stay in it until the second quarter when they started getting their scoring going. So yeah, it was a good game, good win at home. It should invite the fans back for the next home game in a couple weeks, and so yeah, it was exciting to see them get it going.
Well, that 13-3 lead for the Roadrunners, East Carolina made a good drive there late in the first half to get some momentum going into halftime. Had a 40-yard completion, I think, to Chase Sowell, and then UTSA helped with some personal foul penalties or pass interference calls. And I thought the score was really masterful execution there by Jake Garcia and the Pirates. And I was following the guy, like I told you before we started taping, that on the inside handoff, the sweep action there. And then I heard the cheering and realized that Jake Garcia was in the end zone with the ball. But, his passing is good to great at times, and but he's got the ability to tuck and run as well.
Jake is crafty. He's crafty with his faking, and honestly, it's really fun to watch, because even when he hands the football off, he will usually carry through with a fake pass. And so you have to keep an eye on him, because he's always kind of carrying out these fakes. And so you never quite know if he's got the ball or not. And so that's really helped him when he wants to run the football. I wouldn't say he's a great runner, but he certainly is a good one. And he runs hard. He doesn't really try to slide very often. You remember that in the Liberty game where he went in there head first and almost ran through a guy and scored first touchdown in that game. So yeah, once again, he puts out a nice fake, cuts it up, and he's in the back of the end zone before anybody realizes it. You and I and the crowd as well. So and that all is attributed to his ability to carry out his fakes.
I think the defense kind of got inspired with that score, and except for kind of a counter flow play that went for 60-some yards in the second half, the defense pitched a shutout, and the offense did enough for a 30-20 win. But sometimes that defense just needs a little inspiration. If the offense can show them, you do your job and we'll take care of ours, then the defense goes out there and plays with more purpose, it seems.
Yeah, especially in the second half. I mean, the offense gave them the lead, in the prior 2 games, and it still didn't matter. The defense still struggled in the second half. But in the second half is where both offense and defense are struggling. So when you show some fight in the second half so that you can put points up and help your team then the defense, you're right, they're going to react to that. And so I thought the defense, played very, very well. You mentioned it was a 4th and 1 where the running back bounced it to the outside, and there was one missed tackle, and he kind of hit a crease and was gone for 61 yards. So outside of that, I think they gave up like 129 yards for the whole second half, which is pretty good against a tough offense in UTSA. So yeah, the defense stepped up, made some plays. They really chased McCown around a lot in that second half. Didn't sack him a bunch, but he was on the run. He was on the move, and he wasn't as good throwing on the run as he was, stationary in the pocket, comfortable. And they hit him a few times, and so he started to make some wayward throws. So yeah, defensively, I really love the way they stepped up in terms of getting that pressure up front, playing better in the back end, not giving up so many. There was that time against Liberty where I guess they went on 4 or 5 straight touchdown drives in the game, and they were getting every big third down they needed. And similar in the Appalachian State game with Aguilar and Robinson completing third down completion after completion, it was different this game. They were getting better pressure on the quarterback, and those guys in the back end were playing better in pass coverage. So much better effort defensively than we've seen in the last 3 games.
And I think Winston Wright Jr., he turned a more or less routine pattern into a lengthy touchdown. He's got that kind of acceleration and speed that Keaton Mitchell had out of the backfield for East Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a reason he was at both West Virginia and Florida State. Those are big-time programs because he's a big-time talent. And, speed is one of those things you just can't teach. And he's not a very big guy, but when you can run like that, it doesn't matter. And Jay Garcia throws a perfect ball because it's an out route, but he leads him. And so he catches that thing, and he's able to get to the outside and turn the corner without having to slow down and let the DB catch up to him. And when he turned that corner, I remember saying on the air, he's gone. Because I knew it didn't matter whether he had an angle on him or not. He was going to take that thing to the house. And so, yeah, that ends up being a 40-yard TD pass on basically a 5-yard out, which you don't expect to happen. But when you have the kind of talent that Winston Wright has, the kind of speed that he has, that's always an option. He's amongst the tops in the conference in all-purpose yards, his ability in the kickoff return game and as a receiver. So anytime he touches it, we're expecting big things.
Then the other scoring pass, Anthony Smith, I believe, and it was a bomb as well. But he was out there like he was all by himself in right field down at the west end of Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium.
Yeah, Anthony gets a 53-yarder, and it was one of those ones where you're like, just put it on him. He's wide open. Don't try to do too much. Just get to him, and Jake makes a nice throw. But Anthony's another one who's just lightning fast. And so it's hard to stay with him, and I think the DB may have fallen down. He actually got called for holding on that play. He had reached out and grabbed Anthony because Anthony was running past him, and when he reached out and grabbed him, he slipped and fell. So he was all by himself. And as you said, you get a wide open receiver like that, just put it on him. And so Anthony makes a nice play, and he's been due. He was the leading receiver through the first couple games and struggled a little bit last game, and so his ability to get open and make catches is why we wanted him in the offseason, and that came up big in this game.
And then Noah Perez hit a late field goal. He did not miss a kick on Saturday. All 6 opportunities, I believe somebody said. So that was big to be able, like you said last week, make the routine kicks, and then the lengthy ones are gravy. And he did a great job, I thought.
That's right. I think the 42-yarder just barely squeaked in there. Maybe he could have made it from 45 at the most, but that's okay. You're not expecting college kickers to make 60-yarders, and so if he can make 40 yards and in, the Pirates will win a lot of ball games. And he ended up being Special Teams Player of the Week in the conference. So kudos to him, and that's going to make it a little bit tougher for Conrad as he tries to come back. And if it's health reasons as opposed to just him being benched or sat, then when he gets healthy, they're going to think longer and harder about putting him back in over Perez, because Perez earned the right to stay in there with his effort. So good to see him out there. He seemed confident. The guys seemed excited for him to be out there, and you make kicks. That's your job, and you'll keep your offensive defense happy. It's when you miss them is the problem.
Well, the 1999 team, of course, Kevin, had a comeback of its own against Miami and Raleigh that we've talked about. 27-22 win over the Hurricanes, and beat NC State in Greenville, Duke, South Carolina, West Virginia, all fell to the Pirates that season. And you got to see some of those guys there. I think they were recognized at the end of the first quarter, the 99 team, and that team is special. And I know those relationships that you have with your former teammates are special.
They are, Al. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about it. A few of those guys I haven't seen since 1999. Life changes when you get done playing college ball, and everybody goes their separate ways and have families and all that good stuff. And so it was really cool, man, just to hug everybody and tell them you missed them, and just to kind of get caught up on what's going on in their lives and their marriages and kids and their kids playing sports. And so, yeah, I mean, not everybody came back. People had things to do and couldn't make it back, but a good number of guys did, including Coach Logan, including Jeff Connors, of course, Coach Shank Weiler was already on staff, so he was there. So we had 3 of the coaches there. About 45 guys were there. Fairly long weekend in terms of a meet and greet on Friday night and a nice tailgate on Saturday, and then on the field on Saturday as well. So it was exciting. We got a standing ovation from the crowd. Got a chance to walk out there and wave. They showed a little video clip of Keith Stokes' final score in the Miami game, which was cool. I got to bring my boys and my wife. They got to see me out there, maybe on the field for the last time. So that was fun. It was a nice experience. I really appreciate them doing that. We had some really good teams in the 90s. There's the 95 team beat Stanford in the Liberty Bowl. They didn't get their opportunity to get their 25-year because that 2020 was COVID. And so who knows, maybe they take care of them in 2025 next year for 30 years. The 96 team went 8-3 and didn't make a bowl game after beating Miami, South Carolina, NC State. Just a disrespect there, but what a great regular season that was. So there's other opportunities maybe for me to get back out there with my other teams. But this 99 team was just a real deal. I mean, we were one of the best teams in the nation on defense. And then offensively with, Garrard and the backfield of Leonard Henry and Jamie Wilson and, Keith Stokes, Marcellus Harris, Lamont Chappelle, Arnie Powell, at receivers. Offensively, they were really, really good offensive line. And so we were in every game, should have won every game. Southern Miss was a tough one. They took it to us a little bit. And then, of course, TCU in the bowl game. We weren't quite ready for what Daniel Thomason had to bring to us, but great season altogether, and it's one I'll never forget.
Absolutely. And of course, you mentioned your family, and that was a factor Friday night. You missed a gathering with the reunion on Friday night to watch your son play. He's a junior at North Raleigh Christian. But Coach Shankweiler, I think, did a lot of behind the scenes putting that event and reunion together. And Pernell Griffin pinch hit for you as a speaker, I think, on Friday night. Did a great job from what Coach Houston was saying after the game Saturday. And he said he wished his linebackers were that big. And Pernell was from Williamston, and that was quite a tandem, Pernell Griffin and Jeff Carr there on the interior with the linebacking crew at East Carolina in 99. But it's 2024, and the Pirates are going to Charlotte this week, Kevin. And the 49ers took a 10-7 win in Greenville last year. Hopefully, a lot of those offensive struggles are in the process of being corrected. Coach Houston said on Monday that this team has not played anywhere near as well as it can play. And so Nate Garcia remains a work in progress. He had 2 picks on Saturday. I think he leads the country in interceptions. But East Carolina has been able to negate those turnovers to a large extent with good defense. And Rajay Harris, I think he remains kind of an untapped resource in terms of his running ability. But it's going to be a good matchup on Saturday. It's going to be a tough one in terms of the environment because Charlotte playing at home, I think it's going to be a near capacity, if not a sellout crowd.
Yeah, I mean, this Charlotte is on the rise in terms of their, starting out kind of FCS and working their way into FBS, and they recruit in that area that's so full of good players for North Carolina. I mean, Charlotte's probably got the best, grouping of players, high school football players in the whole state, and so they have their pick after maybe, Carolina, Duke, and State kind of go through there, and they're building up a really nice program. Nice facilities. The university is one of the largest in terms of student population in the state. They're in the top 3, I think. So they got a lot of good things going for them there. Coach Pogge is trying to get this thing going. They struggle a little bit offensively. Only averaging about 318 yards per game of total offense. They've had some struggles at quarterback play. I think we talked about in our pre-call that maybe changing quarterbacks. They made a change last week. At halftime of that game. So they've had some issues there. And they're giving up, over 450 yards on defense. So been some struggles with them. In that game last year, 10-7, it was hard to watch at times. Both teams struggled offensively, and I really felt like the Pirates were the better team. Just couldn't get out of their own way to make those plays. Now they got to go on the road to play them. And, I don't know if it'll be a hostile environment, but certainly more fans, than Charlotte's probably had in a while. This will be a big opponent, big in-state opponent, maybe even kind of get a rivalry going for that game. So I expect the Pirates to be up for it. We don't really know what to expect from this Charlotte team. They had a really close game to Gardner-Webb, 27-26, and this is a Gardner-Webb team that ECU beat 44-0, I believe, last year. And so that's a little bit surprising, but they have a nice win on the road at Rice this past weekend, 21-20. So who knows? They could show up and be ready to go, and maybe Deshaun Purdy, this new quarterback, is the answer. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting game, and one the Pirates are excited to play.
And of course, this was the second game, I believe, without Siobhan Revel at corner for the Pirates. But Wilson Lamp had a pick, and Dontavius Nash, Coach Houston feels like, he's kind of settling in as a young player with, more than anticipated responsibilities in terms of his playing time now.
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned, I guess Revel got hurt kind of midweek of the Liberty game, and so they knew they weren't going to have him, but they didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare for playing without him, and so it was a little bit of a struggle. But this past week they had a whole week to say, okay, this person's moving here. Wilson Lamp's going to play some, Nash is going to play some, and they made some rotations, but also they realized. Coach Blake Harrell said, we gave up too much in the run game trying to protect in the passing game. And he said, these young guys just have to grow up and play. And he said, they're going to run the ball. Most teams are going to run the ball much more often than they are going to try to pass, a deep ball downfield or a pass ball around the park. So you have to be able to stop that run game first and foremost. And so taking that extra guy out of the box to help in the pass game just wasn't going to get it done. And so they were able to put that seventh man back in the box, play with 4 in the back end, and just tell those guys, hey, play with technique, trust the pass rush, keep everything in front of you. And I think Nash and Lamp and those guys showed up. And so I think that's the recipe going forward is, hey, we're going to stop the run as we have here for the last couple of years under Harrell. And you guys got to help us out in the passing game. And so much better effort this week than we saw in both Liberty and the second half of that App State game in terms of pass defense.
Kevin, of course, momentum from that win over the Roadrunners and a bye week coming up after the Charlotte game. And what do you look for? Share your Kevin's keys to the game, that Bonesville tradition.
Yeah, I'm excited about this game. I think this is one where the Pirates will go in as favorites and have a chance to beat an in-state rival. I still don't think Coach Houston has a win over an in-state FBS opponent, so this will be a nice one for him to get a win. We haven't seen a whole lot from Deshaun Purdy, so defensively, I think you start by putting pressure on the new quarterback. If he's the guy that goes instead of Brown, You got to get pressure on him, make him a little bit nervous, get upfield, find a way to keep him in the pocket and take that away from him. That's first and foremost. And then in the back end, they got to continue to play well. Don't necessarily have to get turnovers. Turnovers are great, but you can't give up big plays. So those big explosion plays defensively, you can't give those up. So you got to keep everything in front of you, rally to it, make tackles. Offensively for the Pirates, we talked about the job that Rajay Harris has been doing. He's getting much more carries than everybody else. He's averaging in that 4 yard carry range. He just needs more opportunities. And Coach Baker keeps saying that he should be breaking more of these runs. They got to get bigger holes for him, give more opportunities. They want more explosion plays offensively. So they got to get Rajay Harris going in that offensive game. And then obviously turnovers. Jake Garcia had 2 more interceptions. Luckily, the defense came up with some as well to kind of help mitigate that. You got to take care of the football. You're not going to win close games, especially on the road, if you don't take care of the football. So get pressure on the quarterback, establish that run game, and reduce the turnovers on offense.
Very good, Kevin. And we'll be at the halfway point of the season. This will be game 6, and the opportunity to move within 2 games of 2 wins of bowl eligibility, chance to get to 2-0 in the conference. And then we'll take a break and then get ready to go to Army for a game on October 19th. So I'll look forward to talking with you prior to the matchup at West Point. And as always, good to visit with you on the Bonesville Pregame Podcast.
Appreciate it, Al.